You are now listening to Carly's Couch.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Carly's Couch. This week, we are talking all about beginner's mind, what it is, how you can incorporate it into your life, and why it's so important. How you doing today, Lexi?
Like you put a different hat on. I'm feeling good. I would say we've had a good day thus far. We went hiking this morning. Shout out Earl.
Hey.
Fans of the podcast, meet at the park. Nah, not really. Because I'll be kind of creeped out if a bunch of people pulled up. But yeah, it's been a good day, good week, really good week actually. And in general, I would say that things are going very well.
Yeah, same. I say I'm a little sleepy, but peaceful. Overall peaceful. Been reading a lot and spending intentional time for myself, like hiking. So, yeah, it feels good.
You just sleepy today, or are you saying? Because I remember you were talking about being tired last time too.
No, I'm just sleepy today. But yeah,
it is Saturday. It's like, all right, we can.
Yeah, we chilling. There's no rush. Why are we in a rush? That's one thing I've been telling myself all week is like, just slow down. Slow down. Why are you rushing everything?
Unless you have something that you need to do.
Valid. In which case, if you prepare, you don't have to rush. But that's a whole other episode. Today, we're talking about beginner's mind, and it's perfect when thinking about slowing down. This is a concept in Buddhism, and there's a quote that says, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few." And that's according to a Zen master, Shunryu Suzuki.
What do you mean by that?
It's a mindset based on the Zen Buddhist principle of Shoshin. And so think about a beginner. Like if it was your first time to ever paint, you're going to take your time and look at the paintbrushes and be like, oh, okay, this one's big, this one's little. You just look at the paint, you might feel the paint, you're kind of looking at the colors, feeling the canvas. It's just using that beginner's mindset and approaching life like that. So to begin something for the first time means confronting not knowing and the insecurity around allowing questions and mistakes. I think as we get older, we lose our sense of wonder and awe whenever we do things because we think we know things or have experiences with them, and then things can just become mundane. So whenever you're using this beginner's mind, you start to see things in a new light. It opens up like a world of possibilities.
What is it called, or how would you describe a person who because I feel like as you were saying, I was like, I'm not always like that though, but who start doing something for the first time, but you go into it like you do know what's going on. That doesn't, and I feel like, sorry to cut you off, I feel like that doesn't also, it's not like mutually exclusive to saying you're not open to learning and seeing what happens, but like going into it still like, all right, I'm at least having an idea and like maybe a visualization of like, all right, I'm going to go and my first time painting, I'm going to paint this and make, it's going to be awesome and great. Is that not having beginner's mind? If you have kind of like that confidence around a thing?
No. I think you can have a confidence, and same like approaching life with beginner's mind doesn't mean like, all right, go into this client meeting and act like you've never been here before. It's not like that.
Loving up.
It just means detaching from your own like prefabricated concepts in order to be able to see things in a new light. For example, if you have like a relationship with a friend or your parent or somebody who's always negative, like you just know. And so every time you answer the phone, you're like, oh my God. And you answer the phone, you're like, you have 3 minutes. What if one day you just give them a chance to not be like that? Like what could you see in them? What could you see? Oh, they're actually hurting. Maybe it's not they're always negative. They just want to be heard, or maybe it's this. So approaching relationships like that. For example, like if you're driving to work and you stop seeing things. And I think that's a great thing. If you take a certain drive enough, you just stop seeing it. You can literally kind of zone out and just be wherever you are and be like, fuck,
pull up to the spot. Like, I don't even remember how I got here.
Exactly. But people do that through life. And I think that's why beginner's mind is so important, because, you could take a new street and like, wow, look at those beautiful flowers. Wow, I'm so grateful today. Or, man, what would it look like if I approached, exercise and tried a whole new class, or tried to try something new that I didn't know what I was doing. So basically it's just a mental framework and a reminder to encourage you to see the world with fresh eyes every day, to be present, to slow down, and to be in awe of appreciation of, the people especially the people and the things around you and your experiences.
It sounds like having a beginner's mind means not taking anything for granted, whether that's people or time or the things that you know or think you know. What do you feel about that statement?
I would agree with that 100%.
You all hype?
Yeah, I got hyped. So I'm like, she gets it. She gets it. I know what I'm talking about.
Because when you think about like, okay, just, you know, have fresh eyes to it. Like just because, you know, your girlfriend was mad yesterday, and it's like, if it's different when you approach things like, oh, she about to be mad, so you already kind of go in versus if you're like, hey, you know, and just talk to them regular, and sometimes you can kind of flip or open up something different or something new. But also with this, I think a lot about work. So thinking about this in a work sense, and the idea of beginner's mind kind of being opposite, I don't know if exactly opposite, but different from having an expert point of view to like, okay, this is how you do it. And being open and maybe that allowing you to be a little more creative, or allowing you to maybe listen to other folks' opinions a little more and think about something else, or give somebody else a chance to do something. I feel like I see a lot of value there, because when you're the expert, or when this is how it goes, or this is how you think it should be, you kind of are putting yourself in a box a little bit. And so in some spaces, I see it as like a way to be a little bit more creative and to see more and to experience more. And then on the other side, it's kind of like not taking things for granted.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great example for work. And I love that quote at the beginning. And I originally had a bunch of research in here too, because they, you know, polled a whole bunch of experts, and there was no creativity because people know the rules. They know you can't do this thing and you have to do this thing and it has to look like this. But can you imagine like coming into, you know, like a new client and thinking about marketing and not knowing all of those things and being like, well, what if we tried this? And you're like, oh, you know what? That's kind of a cool idea. And then applying all of your actual knowledge to it. And so I think that that's a good like thing, is like, who's to say that the last way you learned something is now the best way and is infinitely the only way you should ever do something.
And you said this came from Buddhist teachings, but is there something like somebody who's written about this, or it's come back up in some type of like productivity article or podcast or anything?
Actually, no. I studied some mindfulness and meditation. I took like a course at USC because there's
recently?
No, and when I was in school, but I took this course about mindfulness, and we did a eating meditation, like a mindful eating meditation, and it was all about the concept of beginner's mind. So if you have never had we started with raisins, and then we did chocolate, and then something else. I know, but if you've never had a raisin before, imagine like never seeing this foreign thing before, and you're like, well, how would you approach it? And then just trying to approach like life like that. So it just kind of hit me the other day, because I guess I lied. I guess I'll take that back. I was reading a book, and it was like, damn, it was like approach things with a sense of wonder and curiosity, and that will change your whole life. So instead of going into everything like letting your lens of anxiety or trauma or, you know, just learned experiences always color what's going on, if you always have a sense of wonder, what can you open yourself up to? And I actually wrote a blog about this about maybe 10 years ago. 9 years ago.
On what? You had a different
on Beginner's Mind. I was writing for this brand called Loving on Me. It's like a self-love website.
I remember seeing that name. Did that used to be your username or something?
No, that was my mentors. That's my mentor's company.
Okay.
And so I used to be a monthly blogger, and one of my posts was about, you know, this sense of awe and wonderment, and how kids and puppies have it right. Like how they approach life. Excited. Oh my God. They just, man, and even when they get hurt, they cry and then they let that shit go and keep it moving. Like dogs, you step on their paw, but then they're okay. Like, you know, they're not gonna, every time you see you like,
I mean, unless it's doing too much.
Well, yeah, if you're abusing them, then that's different. But I think that beginner's mind is so important, because it can just, like you said, creativity, but also help you just enjoy life a little bit more.
But is there anything that you can lose by approaching everything like, with a sense of wonder? Does that make you more naive in certain situations, or maybe does that make you do things slower? Like if it's like in work situations, like is there a balance you think that maybe you should have with this?
I think so, and I think that's a good transition to what beginner's mind is not.
Oh, okay.
And so what it is not is keeping the same zest or excitement that you have for something the very first time you've ever done it or like received it. So for example, when you just got your iPad,
don't act brand new every time.
Yeah, like every day, like, oh my God, like, like when you open a Christmas present and then the next time you see it, it's just not quite as exciting. But then you don't want to get to the point where you see and you're like, man, that thing sucks. You can still be grateful for it and like, man, what new things can I try or what can I do? But
I do have that with some things. I wonder maybe what's the difference in why, for example, if I have some flowers, like I'll literally every day I look at them like, oh man, these are like, I'll really like be excited. But then of course some things, no, you know, like I'm still opening my iPad like this is the best purchase I made all year.
I can't wait to buy
But definitely not people, definitely not,
yeah,
you know, not
I just
everything.
think it can't go for everything, but that's not what it's not. So don't think, man, I have to be excited about everything in the world.
Oh, okay,
right
because
now.
that's not even real. Like to be excited all the time.
But that's impossible. And I'm like one of the most excitable people that I've ever met. And that's a very unrealistic state to expect anybody or anything to keep. So it's not just trying to always be excited about something.
Yeah, because that comes off as fake too.
Bruh.
But you can appreciate, or maybe, but it still doesn't necessarily mean appreciating either, huh? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, what else is in it?
It's not letting people take advantage of you or being naive. For example, we talked about gaslighting a few episodes ago. If you haven't, go ahead and run that hoe back. But if you've been gaslit in a relationship,
Not watching once a year.
what it's not is just letting that toxic, I hate that word, but that toxic person or that gaslighter continue to do those things. No, it's like walking away from situations that don't serve you. But if it is a relationship that you care about, or like a friendship or something, like maybe someone's going through a hard time, like maybe you try to look at them with fresh eyes. If you're feeling a dip in your relationship, maybe you take off all of your preconceived notions and let the person be the person and see them for the beauty of who they are, instead of like letting all of their words color them.
So beginner's mind is not letting shit slide.
Absolutely.
So you still can have valid feelings about a thing. You can still be hurt or feel whatever. But if you do make a choice to forgive somebody or down the road, it's like, all right, you know, this relationship is important or whatever, beginner's mind can play a part in you as a person. Think about how you could approach this in a way is like, you know, remembering why you care about them or why is this relationship important. And really sometimes you can kind of refocus on the positives or the things about them that, you know, are cool, are working. You may have to change the relationship still, right? Like maybe the nature of the relationship might change still.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't have to be letting things slide.
And I don't think it should be. I think a good example of this is me and my mom. Like we haven't always had the best relationship, and there was a time like where she didn't respect my boundaries, and so we had to take a little break. But then she came back and respected them. But if I always looked at her in the negative light that I
never let it go,
and I never let it go, and every time she called, I was like, then our relationship, we wouldn't be where we are. We have the best relationship we've ever had, and it's only because I've been able to let go of that, and she's been able to let go of, you know, whatever was going on with me, and just trying to see things in new eyes. And when you do that, I think it allows you to see how human somebody is, and that maybe even though yes they might have hurt you, or yes whatever is difficult, that there might be more to it than them just being an asshole or them just being whatever. And so I think it allows space for healing and growth. Especially
and maybe
in relationships.
they do get a little better or change or whatever, but maybe they don't. But if they do, I guess it's still like you kind of did your part by making a space. If you want to leave space for something to change or be different.
Exactly.
And having a beginner's mind is almost like having space for alternative, space for change. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I keep bringing it back in. Like, all right, now.
No, I love it.
Use the term.
Keep doing it. It's about that sense of awe and wonderment, like that excitement that those flowers give you when you wake up and see them. That feeling is just allowing yourself to open up.
Oh man, yeah. I tell my partner now sometimes, like I've realized how conflict averse or avoidant I am now, and so. But it's interesting because sometimes, like, if we're about to get an argument, or we are in an argument, or there's a conflict, low key, I'd be excited, like, all right, this is a chance to like figure out, like, what could I say different, or even if I'm messing up, it's like, oh, this is a great chance because I know we'll talk to like, you know, figure it out, and then you can still be like even cooler after that. But then it still sucks being like going through the conflict.
But if you didn't have because you're saying you were, you know, you're conflict avoidant or averse or whatever. If you never tried to look at that in a different light, you would still be avoiding it. But I
still do, but in the moment, because when it's like, you know, when somebody be in your face, you're like, oh man, here we go, like shut down mode. Versus like later, you're like, all right, I thought about it and figuring it out, whatever. But yes, like it's still another, like a layer of trying to be open to it, open to something different, thinking more about it instead of just doing the same old patterns.
But I think that's a perfect example of beginner's mind, because, and not even without like trying to do it intentionally, but you're being open to what it could lead to, open to the growth, open to the partnership, open to what you can learn and change, even though it's still gonna suck sometimes. You're being open. So I think it's really an openness. The last what it is not that I have on here is forgetting how to do things, or what you know, to a point where it's harmful to work, life, and relationships. Like that, I'm not saying be a baby. Like you didn't forget how to talk.
I'm playing stupid. That's the worst.
Don't play dumb,
so
bro. Like, don't play dumb, because then you're just dumb. Don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like go into a meeting like, man, I was listening to Carly's Couch this weekend. They told me to act like I didn't know what I was doing. We did not say that. We absolutely did not. But what we did say is maybe you can be open and approach something in a new way. Maybe you can try to take the limits off and your blinders off and see like, oh, actually, man, maybe if we work with this department, we could actually solve this problem a lot faster than if we just tried to do it in like ourselves.
Did we have an episode on how to be more creative or something kind of similar?
No, but we need to. I
don't
think so.
So what else you made me think about just now is like, you know, you're like, okay, put the way you might do things to the side a little bit, or be open to new things, but like, how do you actually even do that, you know? Like, and I think there's probably a process to, or there can be a process to like how to allow yourself to be more creative. But yeah, like how do you, because we're so on automatic a lot of times, how am I catching, you know, myself to now try to shift it to beginner's mind? And if I'm getting ahead, stop me. But.
Oh, no, you're good. I think that you can just pause, and we always, man, the pause, that is the alternative name of this podcast, is the pause. So if you pause before you do something, if you pause before you avoid that conflict, if you pause before you go ahead and answer when somebody asks you for something, actually let me think about that. And then maybe give yourself a chance to try to think about it in a different way. I'm sure there are a million frameworks that are tried and true about ways to be more creative, and maybe we'll do a whole episode.
Slowing down is always the key though.
But bro, you can't mess up slowing down. Like you can't. Like there's just something special about that moment. And I think that would be the first step to it. We'll get into some other ones later, but I think that's a great first step to anything, even at work. And so that's what it's not. Another question that kind of came up when Lexi and I were talking about it, she was like, is it just saying like, forget your past, or like what's going on? And it's not. Just reiterating that it's not forgetting, you know, anything that you've learned. It's not forgetting your past with people or how they've treated you or what they've done, but it's just being open to it doesn't always have to be like that. And because it was like that in the past doesn't mean that's how it's going to be in the future. And then,
but how long do you think like that? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like at what point is it like, all right, now you ain't finna do nothing different? Like,
well, I think that's up to people, and it's up to you if you choose to keep someone in your life who, you know, is always like that. But I think if it's
still
your partner,
see things as they are.
You still have to be grounded in what you see and what you experience. But I think you could aim to have fresh eyes every time you look at your partner. Like every day. I'm not saying we're not perfect.
I feel like I've read that, like in like relationship type articles and things like that. I feel like they often mention things like, you know, try to have fresh eyes every day, and you know, like always be trying to learn about them, and you know, just being open and questioning and things like that. And I think that is helpful, because it really is easy to, even if you don't think you're being like resentful, like it doesn't have to be that deep, but like, you know, as things happen, like even especially if you see somebody like day to day, and it's like, all right, you know, like, oh, you always leave this open, or you do this or you do that, and like it really just starts to kind of like, you expect to be annoyed, or you start expecting to be like frustrated with them all the time. And if you do use more fresh eyes, it is kind of like putting those things to the side, or realizing like they're not that important. So it's kind of like a change in perspective a little bit. I think it is helpful, but you really have to think about it. You
really have to be mindful and intentional. I think that's the big thing. But also, once you get past 35, I think there's like a study that shows like 80 to 85% of your thoughts are the same. Like if you don't intentionally try to think about different shit, you will have the same thoughts in your head every single day, and most of them are negative. And so when you're thinking about these things, can you imagine the life that you're creating for yourself if those thoughts never go unchecked? If you think that just because something happened in the past or happened this way that it's always going to happen that way, that's a pretty boring life. I'm not gonna say terrible, but it might be boring. And so challenging yourself to kind of be open.
I wonder how you can catch like what those things are, because in general, like for sure, I feel like like typically I don't like hold myself back from new things, or I'm gonna be kind of pretty open, or want to make life easier in different ways or whatever. But I'm sure like it's your blind spot for a reason. So I wonder like how can I think about or find like spaces where I can kind of do more of that.
My off the top recommendation would be to either make a note in your phone or like journal, like pick something like work. Today I'm gonna look at work and just think about your thoughts, and maybe start to notate whenever you have similar thoughts about things, like over the course of a week or whatever, and then start to be like, man, every time my assistant calls me, this is the same conversation that we have. I have these same feelings. And maybe there's a chance to look at something openness or get a new assistant here or whatever's going on. But I think kind of just taking pieces of your life and examining them, like becoming a researcher for yourself.
Which, yeah, I think I kind of do that actually. But I feel like there's always those couple things you're working on at a time. So it's like when I get to certain things, I'll get to it, Like right now, like even right now doing podcasting, like I'm really trying, because in my brain, like, my voice be wanting to just like jump, like just like interrupt, like I'm such an interrupter. It's the most terrible thing. Like all my the people close to me are like, damn, shut up, let people talk. And I remember being told this from like so long ago, so I know it's just like a thing. But I really, when you said slowing down earlier, I was like, yeah, right now I'm slowing down, because I'm like, no, don't say anything. Like I'm really like, wait till she's slowing down and then talk. So it's like really. It takes a lot of brain energy to like really think about it and like, no, like listen. Like you maybe want to jump in and say something, but like, no, listen to what they're still saying. And then you forget what you had to talk about. But it actually progresses the convo better, because it's like, oh, now you're not just saying something just to be saying something, or they actually answered it already. Now you can move forward or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of a lot of energy just to even try to be aware. But I feel like it's like a few things at a time. It's like, I'll get to it, because I'm already in the process of always thinking about something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it could be like one thing a day. It doesn't even have to be that deep where you take notes and do all this stuff. You can just wake up and be like, today I'm actually going to look at where I live and look at my house and look at my decor and see what I like and see what I don't like and see what I could change. Like, I think it could literally be like that, or looking at your partner. How could I look at them? Man, it's so cool. Whenever we stop to think about it and we actually realize that we are the creators of our own reality, life gets so exciting. And so just taking that pause. Another important question that came up whenever we were talking about this episode is just like, well, how do you actually let go of your past narratives to create that space, which is I think what you were alluding to earlier. Like, well, what does that practically look like? And so the first answer, per always, is like self-awareness, but meditation, taking time to pause and to slow down and just to see what the mind chatter, the mental chatter is doing, running around your head like crazy.
Yeah, one thing that I remember from Kyle Cease, that he said he would meditate for like literally like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours a day. And it's like, man, it's like, it seems like, okay, that's a long time just to be sitting there. But he's like, all right, at first it's like all this, chatter's going on, all these things. And he's like, after a while, it's really just like ideas, or there's something kind of refreshing there in the silence, or like you really hear a voice that's like, all right, this is what I need to do, or this is where I'm going, or like you really get answers. The other day I was laying on the table, I was getting my lashes done, and it takes like 2.5 hours. And if you know me, I hate like sitting still, so I like every once in a while I just like go crazy, and he'd be like, "Are you all right?" Like just had to take a second to freak out. But like this last time I did it, it was so interesting, because I'm like, man, I had been in talks with a client that I'm trying to finalize, and it's like while I was laying there, I was getting all these like ideas for things to do, and I was like, oh, these are good ideas. Like, can't write them down right now, but I just kind of let myself just think about them, and now like I still remember them. But it's just interesting, like when you take time to just be still, I think things unravel, or like they present themselves to you in a way that they may not when you're like trying to force it to happen, like right when you're like trying to write something or think about what it should be or do it then, which is probably also why instead of procrastinating, when you do have time, maybe you set time to like brainstorm or just be chill, but you have the time to let it come to you, maybe that that's helpful in coming up with better ideas and more creative ideas also. So this isn't just like I just the last hour and now I'm trying to think of something, let me be quiet. But I think in time, if you give yourself space to be still, like you'll get a lot of the answers at that time.
Absolutely. And I've been convicted recently. I'm rereading The Untethered Soul. We need to have an affiliate page with all of our book links. But rereading that, and
that should be a resource that we made. Just put some books.
Absolutely. I already thought of a TikTok for it. I've been like hyping up our TikTok, so go follow us at Carly's Couch on TikTok. But it's like working out. If I only worked out for 5 minutes a day, I'm not gonna get very much. You're gonna walk in, you're gonna do 2 stretches, and you're gonna leave the gym. And I started feeling that way about meditation. Like I feel like it's important for me to get a little bit more serious so that I can have those moments of free flowing thought where I'm not trying to force things, where I'm not just like, oh, let me meditate just to meditate. It's like, no, I'm giving my brain like a chance to tire itself out, like with the mental chatter, so then I can actually get to the thoughts that I want.
How do you do it now?
I've been doing 15 in the morning and sometimes 15 in the evening, just like timed. But I feel like maybe I want to do a little longer. Because I feel like sometimes at 15, I'm just getting into like the quietness and the actual like the little thing in my head has like calmed down enough to where I can actually just be peaceful.
Yeah, try a little bit longer and see what happens or what changes. Is it hard for you to be still during, or are you? Yes. Because that's the part. So what I learned before I started doing transcendental meditation, when I was just doing like guided or whatever, what I really realized is it was less about the time and more about like, oh, at whatever point I realized like, oh, I'm moving the whole time. Like, you know, I'm scratching or doing whatever. When I made it about like, I can't move. And then it's like literally like 2 minutes in, I'm already like zoned out because I'm not, my body's trying to distract me and telling me like, do this or smell this or look at that. And it's just like when I tell myself like, all right, like I can't, I'm like, I'll be itching somewhere and it's like, nope. Like you just let it go and then it goes away. But I think that's the real key, like, to like getting to in a zone place is if you find yourself moving a lot or you don't notice how much you move, try it that way.
Absolutely. And I need to do that. And I need to stop saying absolutely because I hate it. But every time I'm clipping up the podcast, I'm like, why do I do that? The next step in actually trying to get past your narratives and be open to new awareness and to new possibilities is to notice when you're judging things and then questioning it. Yeah, questioning it. Like, man, it's always. I forgot
what made me realize that. I was like, damn, I be judging everything. It might have been probably reading something, maybe Untethered Soul, maybe something else. Like the first thing was like I noticed like, oh, certain types of thoughts are judgment thought. No. It's Deepak, the spiritual six.
The 7 spiritual laws of success.
Yeah, 7 spiritual laws. That's what it is. Because one of them is really about like, you know, stop judging things. Don't say in the morning like I will not judge. But like you really have to be aware of your thoughts and to recognize also like, oh, that is a judgment on something. That's hard to do.
That is hard. That is you told me to listen to the audiobook and it's like a short 45 minutes, so y'all should check that whole out. But that just trying not to judge anything all day is good or bad. It's not just bad things, it's also good.
But you're definitely a good step in if you say a thing and like, oh man, that ugly shirt over there, and then it's like, oh no, I'm judging it. Like if you just start catching it a little bit, but it's not that blatant a lot of times. It really just to say like, oh man, this episode's not that good. Like that's like you're judging it, but you know, it's a lot. It's a lot of your thoughts, I think.
Yep, and we already mentioned, but moving slower and acting as if it's your first time to experience something. Slight ways you can start to try this without feeling crazy or like, man, I'm a weirdo at lunch, like around other people, is maybe you just slow down. Because I inhale food, and so a lot of times I don't even get to enjoy the experience because I'm like, and it's gone. And it's like you need to actually taste it.
Cut out that audio clip.
and enjoy your coffee. Like actually taste your coffee whenever you wake up in the morning instead of just like making it another task, just slowing everything down.
It could be anything. It could be like while you're typing on your computer, like, you know what I mean? Like just focusing in on your senses around different things.
And then play, like trying to be like kids and dogs, like trying to play, trying to have fun, trying to forget things. But I think if you take a moment and look at nature, you always learn things. If you watch little kids outside of bad ones, but they're not bad. They just have
judgy thought.
That is a judgy thought outside of, kids who are going through things and processing, but like looking at how they act and how dogs are always so excited to see you. You leave to go to the store, you come back, baby, I'm excited. How you doing? I just saw you 10 minutes ago, but you look even greater now. Like dogs be so hype.
Yeah, they're so awesome. I'm not even like a dog person. I'm not a dog person like other people dog. Like I just let them walk by. I'm like, I'm not about to be that person. But like with like my people's dogs, it's like, oh, like I kind of want one, but I don't. Another thing you could do is start with more mindless activities. So like brushing your teeth, maybe you use a different hand. Maybe you start in a different section. Like most people have a routine for things. Like when I'm in the shower, I know like, oh, I start down here and I move up this leg and then go over here. And it's like, if you really, and I've done this in the shower before, like start from a different place or try it differently. It's like kind of weird, but it's like, oh, this is, I'm really actually paying attention. And I don't know why I talk about showers so much on this podcast now. But yeah, like to really pay attention, like even as you're washing each thing, like, oh, my knee or my ankle and like hopefully your feet and everything, like, just paying more attention to those things.
Yeah, and then practicing with whatever is in front of you in the moment. If that's work, like maybe you think about, why this is how you set up your desk space, to get to work, or why this is here, or whatever's going on. And just noticing your thoughts and feelings and how stuff like leads your mind.
And then the last thing is letting go of shoulds, which really means that you had an expected outcome, I guess, and that you wanted things to be a certain way or expected them to be a certain way. So it's like, oh, I should have done this, or that should have looked like this, or man, why is it this, a thing that you expected? And so to have beginner's mind is, I'm guessing, it's like being more open to, there's a lot of different ways that this could go or this could be going, and to be focused on what you should have did. It's like, no, you might be in the right space and like for the right things to happen.
Mm-hmm. And that includes like other people in your life. Like, if you feel bad and you're judging, like, oh man, I'm gonna text my partner did this, or they should have done this. Like, notice when you start to should on other people too, and why you need them to respond in a certain way or to do different things. I'm not talking nothing wild with disrespect, but like, basic things like, man, I thought they would be excited about this dinner. It's like, I wonder why they're not. I wonder. So,
and when half the time stuff like that, when you're like trying to be in somebody's brain, it's like, oh, they are excited about it. They just don't, sometimes they don't show things the same way, or sometimes it's like they aren't excited because you're excited about trying to get a reaction and they don't even care about food like that, or they don't care about Italian. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times it's kind of checking yourself too when you're thinking about how somebody else should be reacting.
It most of the time is. And so it's a lot of just awareness and practice. And the last piece I want to get into is why this is important. We talked about a lot of it, but just going into things. The first one is...
we can lighten around these low key.
Exactly.
They're pretty much like a roundup of, the reasons why beginner's mind is important.
And the first one is being open to possibilities. It can give you new ideas. It can help you from being offended. For example, like we were talking about dinner, it can help you from feeling a type of way. So just being open to possibilities.
Another is it's allowing you to be willing to learn. So, and being open to different things and paying attention to, just different details. You're continuing to learn and figure out ways to do a thing.
It helps you stay fresh and keep things interesting in relationship and in life, in your daily movements. And
you definitely have more creativity because you're limiting yourself to have a particular outcome or expectation or way to do a thing. And so now if it's open, and we can get more creative.
It helps you to have less prejudice. Your tendency to judge a situation as good or bad will start to lessen. And according to Buddhists, our tendency to judge things as good or bad is the reason why we suffer. So as that starts to lessen, so will your suffering.
I think maybe we should do an episode around judgment. Or have we?
We haven't, but we need to.
What's the other one we said? How to be creative, judging. All right, let's write those down. Because I feel like, and I know that has to do with Buddhism because like with the same book I was saying earlier, it tends to go back to the Buddhist teaching. And so maybe to really flesh that out about recognizing judgingness and judgment, why you shouldn't, like in the same ways kind of like we're doing this episode, I think would be good. Of course it improves your relationships because maybe you're allowing people to be more themselves. Maybe you're seeing fresh things about them that you can appreciate them more, not take them for granted. And you're really listening to them, and people definitely notice, for sure. With a person like me who don't be listening, when I do, I'm like, oh, you actually listen. Like,
noticed and appreciate. We appreciate greatly.
Yeah.
It also helps reduce anxiety, fear of fear, or the fear of what might happen, or you start worrying and projecting things. Whenever you are practicing beginner's mind, that starts to lessen because you don't have all of those preconceived notions around things.
And procrastination lessens as well. So like if you don't have as much fear around like, oh, this got to get done in this way and this team, you just, I don't know, I feel like it kind of loosens you to have a beginner's mind. Even if you have deadlines, I really feel like sometimes like an approach to work and things that have kind of like deadlines or need to be done. Have you noticed it seems like things like always kind of for the most part. There's been a couple times like, damn, I just dropped the ball completely. But for the most part, like, things kind of work out. Like, you know, you're thinking about an approach to something, and then instead of you going ahead and writing like this 10-page manifesto about something, they're like, oh, actually, let's just have a call about it. Or it's like, hey, can you just send me a quick bullet points? You know, or like you realize you didn't have to do as much as you were about to do, or that you're more prepared than you thought, and you don't need to do all that extra stuff. So sometimes I think that it's helpful with beginner's mind to focus more on the thinking about what this thing is going to be versus the actual like trying to force yourself to do something.
I think that's a big piece of it. And whenever you do that, you can have a greater flow. So in beginner's mind, as you drop your thoughts about how things should be or have to be or have been, you're open to what they actually are. And then you enter this blissful zone called flow, where you can do just what you need to do. The most important thing about flow is that it is always associated with a greater well-being.
Beautiful. Yeah, so this is cool. So we hope that you guys learn a little bit more about beginner's mind and can think about or identify maybe a person in your life that you could try to approach differently or be more open about them or their behavior, or maybe it's around your health or work or something in particular. But it's definitely important, and I think it's something for sure to like incorporate. The more like kind of childlike you are, which is so interesting that like across religions and, you know, different teachings, you kind of get like at least a vibe of these similar things that are like life lessons. Like, you know, approach things openly, approach things like a child, like ask questions, and, you know, you don't have to feel like you know everything, and not necessarily judging everything. I think these are all important concepts regardless, that for whatever reason, I guess probably just different coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms, like, you know, these are the things we started doing. Maybe it makes us feel more in control. Maybe it makes us feel like, you know, we could do something, or we know things, and that's, you know, for our security. But like really breaks that down and allows you to like think less about stuff, so you're not as stressed, but you're also actually like more efficient, I think. More productive when you're just like chilled out and not like all like wired up. You know, some of the people who it's like they're more successful when it's like they're relaxed, and it's like, how are you so relaxed? You got all these things going on, versus the person who's like up all night trying to finish this and do that and do this. And it's just kind of like a different approach, I think, to life and like what's important.
There's a quote that says something to the effect of nature never rushes, and yet everything always gets done. And so to have a beginner's mind is to be open to possibilities, to be more intentional, to move a little bit slower, and to allow yourself the sense of wonder for all the amazing things and people around you.
Yeah, and it's so funny, just again, like, and in the Bible, Matthew 6:33, it was like, don't worry, like, the flowers in the field are straight, the birds are straight, like, they live their lives, everybody's taken care of, and so you don't have to try so hard. I think that's a major key in life, is not trying so hard. And if you're approaching it as a beginner, like, you already kind of have a step ahead.
Absolutely. So try that this week. Let us know how it goes. If you want some specific exercises, just Google mindful eating or beginner's mind exercises, and I'm sure there's a million resources out there for you. Hit us at Carly's Couch on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And then this week's shout out, I'm super excited. Shout out to Thomas Glenn, Tag 2 Productions. Hey, Tag, for his first live show, he produced Talk in Tokyo for the Olympics. So shout out to him. His hosts were Adam Rapon and LaChina Robinson. And they had like Suni Lee and Katie Ledecky and all these amazing athletes come on there and talk about their experiences. It seems so personable and relatable. And so shout out to Thomas and his whole team for doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Add to that portfolio.
Ching ching.
And this week's question, are we going to have them ask us, or do we want to come up with something real quick?
We can have them ask us a question.
So if you're still listening to this episode, shout out Sanford. Shout out Nate. This week we want you to ask us a question. I would say maybe via story or via a tweet, something where it's like we for sure could see it. Tag Carly's Couch, tag at Carly Carpio or CC Fierce, and tag Lex_Topia. And just say like 151, that's the episode, like 151, here's my question for you. And I guess we'll say like we have to kind of answer it. So I'm sure y'all won't say anything wild, but something interesting. And maybe, or you know what, maybe whatever you could ask us is something we could put in our repertoire to start asking in the episodes, because we need some more questions to ask, you know, our listeners anyway, just to get more stories out of you guys.
Definitely. I almost said absolutely again.
God. Definitely.
So, ask us a question. Ask us a question. Play with beginner's mind this week. And thank y'all for tuning in.
Peace out.